Well, hey there folks, Barry's Best Honey. I'm Mike and I do bees. It is November 24th, 2024, and welcome to Southeast Louisiana. Well folks, I hope all of you guys in the U.S. there at least had a happy Thanksgiving. Much to be thankful for. I'm out here in town and I decided to grab the camera and bring it with me. I don't know what these bees are going to do. I may have to go get my jacket, but I'm out here to get this last half gallon of feed on this single that had the issues, and I want to see if I can tell whether or not we've had any brood come out. Because look, we've had last week, most of the nights were in the 30s, so we could have had chilled brood, but these were all capped. They were covering the frames, and look at that condensation. And I want to check the cluster and see if, you know, if 2 or 3 frames of brood emerged. That's significant. Should be able to see the cluster. So I don't have any smoke because I want to see what they look like. I just hope they're not upset. Well, they've glued it down since, so that's good. Now see, this is in another video I was talking about these plastic feeders. The problem with these is when there's liquid, you can see the condensation just from the lid, but when there's liquid in here, these things condensate underneath really bad as the temperature of the liquid goes down and then it goes back up. And so that's why I don't want to feed them when it's cool. We got about a 4-day stretch of warm weather and in the 70s each day and only into like 50s in the evening, maybe 60s. So that'll be good. Right now it's 72 and beautiful. But I want to see if I can tell a difference on the cluster. So I'm going to carefully lift this up and see if the cluster grew any. Oh yeah. Yeah, they definitely grew some. Not a lot, but they grew. Because look, the brood was capped. So it's not far from being, you know, it wasn't far from being emerged. And I think I said in the video when we initially looked at them that we still had a good 3 weeks, you know, where these bees should be able to get that brood out before we have any bad weather. And look at the difference. Oh, it's hard to tell with the camera, but their bees really gathered up good on this. Because if just 1 or 2 of those brood frames that she had laid up really good emerged out, that's going to make a big difference in the population. So I'm pretty pleased. That's good news. I'm going to put this feeder back on, get it filled with some feed. Yeah, that's good. That's what I was wanting to see. So there's probably still at least another frame or 2 of brood that's got to emerge. I don't want to dig through there and kind of see because I don't want to take a chance of hurting them. I just want to feed them. I got some 2-to-1 that I mixed up. Come on, bee, you can't be here. If you're there, when I close it, you'll die. This 2-to-1, a little precipitous on the bottom. This one didn't mix as well as normal. What I do, when I just have like 1 colony to feed, a gallon or even a half gallon in this case too, I just mix it in this jar and shake it. I obviously didn't shake it all that well, but for the most part, 4 pounds are diluted. 4 pounds of 2 pints. Put hot water in here. Ooh, that was tight. Hot water in here and then just shake it around. So while we have warm weather, I want to give them this last dose. Get a little bit of that precipitous sugar out of there, but not much. Oh yeah, there's not much left in there. So I'm going to close this up. Don't want any bees in there. Very well. Let's see how heavy they are. They were still pretty light. Wow. Okay, now that's good. I like it. Plus, you know, I've got the feed in there, but still, I'm feeling a lot heavier than before. Plus, with the feed, that's really going to help. Well, there you go. That's good news. That's what I wanted to see. I basically wanted to see, hey, the brood is right on the edge of actually emerging this week sometime. Maybe a few days ago, maybe even this weekend still emerging. And that's why I wanted to see, did the cluster appear to be more populated after 2 or 3 frames? Because 2 or 3 frames of brood emerging is significant. Now, I got a comment saying this was an easy fix. All I had to do was just find the queen, move the hive, and put a frame of brood in there. Well, I wasn't going to do all that this late. First of all, I'm not digging in any colonies this time of year, pulling brood out for a colony that's very, very weak. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to take resource. This is not the time of year in the fall for me to be taking resources from any colonies. Let me get this veil off. Ah, ah. It is way too nice of a day to have a veil on. But yeah, it's not the time of year for me. I'm not going, first of all, finding a full frame brood, knowing we're going into a cool season. The bees are slowing down. Their numbers are down at this point. They're not building, they're shrinking. The last of any bees that are gonna die off before they get into winter. The winter bees are hunkering down. Not gonna take brood. If anything, to me, the most logical thing to do would have just been combine them if they didn't have a queen. And then when I did find the queen, being that I had 3 frames of bees, 4 frames of bees, down here, that's not a problem. I counted almost 6 sparsely populated frames when we went through this, but you know, we found the queen, she was laying. Let's just see what they do, and we'll go from there. If anything, I would have put them in a nuke. But we got the robin under control, and they seem to be doing good. So I'm gonna go enjoy this day and look at some other bees is what I'm gonna do right now. I'm gonna go back home and go into that Apimaye. And poof, folks, just like that, I'm at the house, sitting in front of the Apimaye, and I'm gonna take a look in here. So why am I looking in here when I tell you I don't go into colonies? And I really don't. I would say this is the latest I've been in a colony in years, as far as just looking at one that's healthy or supposed to be healthy and normal. But I want to see, I'm curious, after they've been through a cold spell like they have, a week of lows in the 30s, and the hives have been nice. They've been able to get out and do stuff in the day, but I just want to see, I'm curious. I know what they look like in March when we've had a freeze. We'll have a freeze now and again, and they come through in some chilled brood, but I'm curious to see how they slowed down, what they did, what they look like. It's such nice weather. It's down in the 60s right now. That's nice. I love these feeders on these Apimayes. And I'm going to show you a little bit about the Apimaye. I did a video on this Apimaye and what I like about it. I'm buying another 7 frame for sure, and possibly a 10 frame. I might buy a 10 frame, but I'm going to buy a 10 frame. Let me put it that way, but it's not going to be like soon. I'm going to buy one for next year to have a couple. I want to have a few here in the at the house. I can see myself in retirement dealing with Apimayes only. This Apimaye has these closable entrances. They've got the entrances that you can close and open. I've got them closed down pretty well. They've got these little entrances. I have this one open because it's always been. I could stand to actually close it. I'll give it an air. We'll take it to the air setting. There's 2 of those on the back. There's the 2 on the back, the green one under the feeder. And then, of course, you know the 7 frame, you can split it into 2 3 frames. And I'm going to go into that here as we pull these frames out. Let's look at these bees. They look good. Got to be careful. Don't want to hurt a queen. Now, the deal is, I've told you I don't like being in these. Hurting the queen is detrimental. And it is. I'm not terribly concerned with this queen. She's a swarmer. She's actually a split off from a colony behind me. I was having trouble with her swarming. I finally kept her, and she swarmed anyway, and then I ended up making a new queen. And so her genetics aren't my favorite, but we'll see how she does in the spring. And if she does good, then I'll keep her. Oh, look at the beetles. Look at the beetles right there. I've learned to live with beetles just about like the bees have learned to live with beetles. Look at, there's a lot of beetles in this thing. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to knock them down into this lid. Let's go do that. Now, I'm just going to put them in this lid so that everybody can watch them and we can observe them, because I surely wouldn't want to do anything to the beetles to get in trouble. Look at the beetles in there, folks. All right, so observe beetles. That's what we're going to do, is just observe them. Simply observing the beetles. That's all we're doing. Let me turn y'all around. I got something to do with these beetles real quick. You guys know what I'm talking about that follow Joseph Ross. Okay, so those beetles are, they're over there in that lid. So we got the bees a bit stirred up. Let's give them a little more smoke. Don't want to give them a lot. Don't want them running crazy. Let's look in here and see what we can see. What do the bees look like just before Thanksgiving? All right. No brood, just a little bit of capped. And this is a patch that's left. They're not guarding us. There's no new brood in there. And the queen does have eggs in here. So the queen is still putting in eggs. Even after that cold snap, they're not concerned. They've got enough bees to cover, so they're happy. As we get to the middle of this Apimaye, for those of you that really haven't messed with these 7 frames much or heard much about them, I'm going to show you something neat about these. Another frame, there's some brood that's still yet to come out. It doesn't look chilled, or they'd already be tearing it open because we've had a good warm day. And this queen is backfilling at this point. More beetles running around. A lot of beetles in this thing. But the bees are controlling it. There's some fresh larvae, so that didn't chill on them. They've guarded that. They have enough bees. It's all toward the top, so you can tell they're gathering toward the top when they're clustering. So there you go. They're still putting in brood. So what I want to show you in here, this Apimaye, there's a channel that runs right down the center there. Point to it with this hive tool, but right down the center where the hive tool is, right, you can see that channel running down there. All right, that's the divider. You can tell how it's goes. The divider board goes all the way down in there. So it's a little ridge line, and this here divider board drops down in there nice and clean and flush. Of course, I'd have to clean the propolis off if I'm going to use it now, get it all clean, but these have been propolized. I'd have to clean these out too, these vents. But of course, this thing has these spinning wheels on them. All right, they're kind of tight right now because of the propolis in there, but you can see you can adjust them, and we can adjust them to queen excluder, ventilation, or no contact with each other. And what's nice about this, if y'all watch the video, I dropped this down and did a split and kept my queen on one side and was able to, well, introduce an unmated queen to the other side. It was a queen I wanted to get mated. It didn't work out. She didn't get mated. She was alive for the first few days. I released her from the cage, but I guess she never came back from her mating flight. And then I can basically, if I can use this as 2 mating nukes, and that's what's neat about this. The split was made with these on the solid part. It's really tight. I got to clean it out. It's got a lot of propolis in there, but I made sure there was no space. There was no way they could, they could get through, and I made the split. So then what I said I want to do with this box was the reason I want another one. There's another channel, and viewers told me this. I didn't know this. If there's anything I could write to Apimaye, would be they need to maybe explain the uses in a better brochure, because the brochure didn't have a lot. But viewers told me there's another channel right here where this frame is, okay? And that way I can drop this in with my excluders on. Oh, wrong side. And what that does, now I turn my excluder section on each one. And what I get from that is I can now make a timing frame. So if I drop this in here, I can take a open frame that's ready to be laid in. It's all been polished, move it from another side, put the queen in that frame and some nurse bees in here, drop that divider down, nurse bees can go back and forth, and I have a timing frame now. And that's perfect for a graft. And now I know exactly when I have 4-day-old eggs, because we're sitting through a presentation the other night, and it's so important to get those eggs within 24 hours of emerging, those larvae. So important. So that's why I want another one. I want a couple of these to run, and even if I just run it as a builder, I can do that, because it's got the feeders on top. I don't waste any space, and I just load it full of bees. So that's my plan, to get another one of these 7 frames for sure, maybe 2 more. To do some queen work in, and they can double up as mating nukes. There you go. The Apimaye is a very, very versatile little tool, this 7 frame especially. You can pull this tray out. Now this 7 frame doesn't have a propolis, a pollen trap. That's kind of why I wanted the 10 frame. I want to get one of those. So clean this out. I think I need to clean the bottom a little better, the screens down there, but that slides right in. You can put diatomaceous earth in that. That's another thing nice. Get the beetles. All right, another frame with some brood on it. Probably some eggs in there. I'm not looking too hard. So she's still laying, and it's almost Thanksgiving. I guess we don't really get broodless. If we did, the time it would be December going into January. That's our coldest time. By February, though, we've got brood back in here again. That's how our colonies work. So they look okay. And don't seem like the low temperatures hurt them. They had enough bees to guard the brood, because there's fresh eggs and larvae, and very small larvae. So, and unfortunately, a lot of beetles. I don't see anything crazy and unhealthy looking in them. They all look good. I don't see any deformed wing virus. There's no greasy bees. What I'm not seeing a lot of is honey. I saw 1.5 frames of honey. I might throw them some sugar water on. So this frame's got some honey in it, but not much. So I need to give them, I might throw some feed on them here tomorrow while we got a warm spell. Okay, so the Apimays are supposedly very, very good insulated, you know, because of the plastic, and I guess there's air inside. They're very, very well insulated summer and winter. They're great. The bees control the temperature really well in them. That's their research anyhow. Oh, there's my queen. Guys, I missed her. There's the queen. She's a big old queen, huh? Y'all see her? It's kind of dark. She's right there standing still. There's a nice shot. So I'm gonna put her in here carefully. I want to check this outside frame, see what we're looking like for stores here, because there's honey on this frame. There's honey on the little bit of honey on the frame I pulled. Oh yeah, this one's loaded. Golly, that's why I felt it was so heavy. This one's loaded with honey. I still might throw a little syrup on them, because as we start getting cooler and they start emerging, they'll backfill some of that brood. Oh, I want to show you this while I've got this honey frame out. I don't know if you can see it really well. Here's the other channel for the divider. Actually, I'll just put it in. With the queen excluder settings, I would drop it in like so. It drops in just this easy. It locks in, and they can't get across the top or the bottom. So the queen is trapped in here. I can have this as my timing frame. And viewers are the reason I knew that. I was going to do a timing frame with 3 frames and just mark one, but I don't even have to do that. I can just drop it in. So that's beautiful. That's a beautiful little design. Again, I think they need to maybe do some instructions or some sort of pamphlet with more features kind of showing you stuff, but when you buy it, but they didn't do that. But other than that, I mean, that's minor. They're doing fine. The queen is still laying, and it's almost Thanksgiving. All right, so let's re-examine this. So this is my insert, and tells me on one side is candy syrup. All right, so I put it in here, and now I've got a small gap. It goes underneath this little cover. The bees can't get out of here. They got to stay. It keeps them in the hive. This is where my syrup is going to be. And here's a little ladder. They can crawl down and get to the syrup. It'll fill up as high as the syrup is. It'll fill up, I'm sure. And that's how they get in there and get that. Now I flip it to the other side. If I want to make a sugar board and put hard fondant in here, or sugar fondant, or I guess I could put even Hive Alive fondant in here. I turn this around to, instead of the sugar setting, the candy board setting, I flip it around and stick it in there like so. And now I've got this nice big opening. The bees can crawl up in here, eat all the syrup fondant they want. The lid goes on. It goes all the way down, and the bees can't get out of that feeder. So if I have sugar brick in here, they can't get out. If I have syrup, they can't get in. There you go. That's how those work. They're pretty neat. Let me get those beetles out of there. There we go. So I'm set up for sugar syrup. You don't even have to take the lid off to set it up. On that side, let's clean this off. This one's good. So now they're both set up for sugar syrup. So if I choose to go ahead and just throw some 2-to-1, have some made up, I simply lift the lid and feed them. I like it. Just like a regular hive top. Alrighty. There we go. Well, what do y'all think? Pretty nice little setup. Went back over the Apimaye again, but I wanted to go in there, and I just want to take y'all along. Happened to be going to feed that other colony. I got to thinking, you know, I wondered how everybody had done with the cold snap that we had. You know, because I was trying to wait for that to get over to finish feeding that last colony. And I thought, man, let's go through the Apimaye and see. And so, just like that, we went through the Apimaye. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Hope y'all had a wonderful Thanksgiving. A wonderful Thanksgiving, and I do appreciate everybody watching. It's Barry's Best Honey. I'm Mike, and I do bees. We're doing bees almost at Thanksgiving. We're doing bees here in November. Y'all have a wonderful, wonderful week, and may God bless you. We'll see y'all later.